Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be going over Fullmetal Alchemist. This is going to be a tutorial, just pretty much teach you the basics of the game. Okay, this is a game made by Joyride back in the early 2000s. It's a pretty fun game playing it, but other than that, let's get started with a couple of things. So the game overview is, if you know much about Fullmetal Alchemist, is the whole thing about is the Philosopher's Stone. So that's what this game is based on, you gaining clues to the Philosopher's Stone. Okay, so the player to get that wins. Or if you defeat all your opponent's character cards. So these right here are location cards, and this is how you win the game. Okay, you have to collect a total of 9 clues to win. So going over deck construction. So to make a deck, you need a leader card, which right here is Edward Elric. Good way to get leader cards is gain of starters. So you need him. You need location cards. You need 9 of them. Okay, and then the deck size is minimum 60 cards in deck and no more than 3 copies of a card. Yep, but like I said, the object of the game is to get the clues, so you need 9 total of these, or if you get rid of all your opponent's allies. Whenever your opponent has 0 allies, or really 0 character cards, then the game is over for them. But other than that, let's go over the cards. So the first card I do want to go over is the leader card. As you can see, there's different levels for your leader. If you do get the starter, it comes up to 2, okay? I am not sure how many comes. Like, if there's a total of 4 or 5, I don't know yet. I'm still relatively new in this game. I just recently started playing it, probably really only about a week ago. But other than that, this is the core of the game and your deck, okay? If this guy dies, then it's game over for you. Or at any point where he gets removed from play. So this command number pretty much shows how powerful your allies could be that you can play, and how many allies can be put in play. So for example, you can only have anywhere from cost of 5 or less ally in play if you're Elric level 1. So as you can see with this Alphonse Elric, he costs 6, so he cannot be put in play, okay? Because his cost is a lot higher than the command of Edward. But when he gets to his level 2, then you can, because he's at an 8. Okay, and that will make more sense once we show the gameplay. Up here is just the name. Going right here is the faction. So Edward Elric is a faction of Elric. There are other factions. So you have the Elric faction, the military faction, you have the homunculus faction, the rebel faction, and then you have a faction that is unaligned. So when you build your deck, you want to have your factions match, because if you don't have the correct faction, then that matches your leader card, then there will be a penalty, because it will cost 1 additional point to get them in play. So for example, let's say there's a random card. Let's say this wasn't a faction card of Elric. Let's just say it was a homunculus, or not homunculus, a rebel. So he costs 6 currently right now, but since their factions don't line up, he will be a 7 instead. But luckily Alphonse is a Elric faction, so he costs 6. Going over here, we're going to talk about the stats. So looking at Edward's stats, going from the top right there, that is his strength. That's using strength battles, which we'll go over later. The book sign is his wits, and the bottom one is his alchemy. Now, all these are attack attributes because whenever you're fighting for a location, they're going to state you're going to be fighting for strength, wits, or alchemy. Okay. Right here just shows the level, and then this is the text of the effect. So if you look at this, it shows main wits. That states that you can only use this effect during your main phase. The next cards we're going to go over are your location cards. So these are pretty much the battlegrounds where all the magic happens. We fight for these battlegrounds, okay? Because you want to get clue points. And so once your total amount equals 9 locations that you captured, then you win the game. And each player needs 9 of them. And whenever you're deck building, there cannot be multiple copies of a location. You need to have one location, so one high command, one festival grounds, and so forth. You can't have duplicates in this deck. Next, we're going to be going over your character cards. So character cards look much like the leader cards, except if you look at the top left-hand corner, it's a different banner. You don't have that green banner. You have a gold coin right there. That just shows the cost to play. Other than that, they have the faction. They have the attributes right here, or the text of like what they are. You have their attributes over here, and then their text. React wit, so that's just a reaction. Okay. Now, how to play Alphonse. That's during the recruit phase, which we'll go over later. But putting down cards, you have to have equal to or lower than to recruit. To recruit cards, you need to have lower than or equal to the command of your leader. All right, next we're going to be going over event cards. So event cards, how you can spot them is if you look at the top left-hand corner, they're going to have a certain attribute connected to it. So it's either going to be strength, wits, right here, and then alchemy. So that's the way you could determine if it's a event card. Event cards are one-time uses, and you have to meet this criteria, okay? So this states battle alchemy 5, meaning the person that uses this alchemy disintegration, you have to do it during a battle, and their alchemy has to be 5 in order to use this card. Okay, now there is something called equivalent exchange. We'll go over that later. But pretty much what that is, if you don't have enough to pay for that card, then whatever the difference is, then you can discard that from your hand. So these right here are attachments, which a good way to tell what it is, if you look at the top left-hand corner, it's a silver coin. So how to play this, a character cost has to be equal to or lower than this. So Alphonse is a 6, his cost is 6, so this is a 5, so it could be attached to him. And Edward Elric, his banner cost, command cost is a 5, so he can have this attached to him because it's equal to. Now, if this costs more than the character you want to put it on, you can't attach it unless you do the equivalent exchange similar to this, okay? You can only attach one item to a character per keyword. So, for example, a weapon, you can only have one weapon attached to a character. Now, a character may have 2 attachments that have a keyword called auto mail. That's the only thing. But other than that, it's 1 per keyword. Yep, so that's pretty much it for the cards. So what we're going to be going over is the sequence of play. Okay? Okay, guys, so during the sequence of play, you have 6 different sequences. Okay, you have the draw phase, you have the power up phase, you have the recruit phase, you have the main phase, you have the search phase, and then lastly, you have the cleanup phase. Okay, so we're gonna dive deep into that. Okay, but before we dive deep into the sequence of play, we're going to set up a game. So what you're going to want to do, if you look at this, so you have the bottom area of your playmat. That's going to be where your deck and everything goes. So you're going to have 3 different decks. So you're going to have your main deck, you're going to have your location deck, and then you're going to have your leader deck. All right, so that's going to go in the very back. In the middle row, you're going to have that's the section where it's called home. So that's where all your characters are whenever they're not out in the searching for the Philosopher's Stone. And then up at the top, you have the search area. That's where your characters who are going to be searching for the Philosopher's Stone are located. So to start the game, you're going to want to shuffle your location deck, and then you're going to start off. Instructions tell you to have all these face down in numerical order. So number 3 is at the bottom, 2 is in the middle, and 1 is at the top. And then you have your deck right here. So I'm going to have this out of frame because I don't have enough room at some point. But just know that these are going to be at the very bottom. So once you get everything set up like this, you're going to flip up your leader card, and they come into the home section. Okay, now I'm going to move these. All right, so once you do that, so Edward is my leader. After you do that, you're going to search for a ally. Okay, so when you search for your ally, his command is 5. So I could look through my deck and get a characters that equal up to 5. Okay, so we're just going to get let's get Pinocchio, and let's get Edward's mom, Trisha. Okay, so as you can see, and then you're going to shuffle your deck afterwards. So as you can see, these 2 cost 5. That's just enough because Edward Elric is a 5. So they come into play. And then after that, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to draw 4 cards. So you draw 4 cards. And that is your setup. And we'll just keep this off camera. Now the cool thing about Fullmetal Alchemist TCG is it's a multiplayer game. It's not just 1v1. You can play with a group of people, okay? So you can play with 4 people multiplayer, which I think is really cool. Now, we're going to go to the first phase, which is the draw phase. So after you set this up, your opponent sets it up, you draw 2 cards, okay? And when you're playing, and these are the 2 cards that I just drew. So when you're playing this game, the play sequence, everything's all happening at once. So I draw, and then my opponent draws as well, okay? After that, what you're going to want to do is whoever has the lowest amount of clues reveals the top card from their clue deck. Now, at the start of the game, everybody's at 0 clues. So everybody will reveal the top card from their location deck. And so once everybody reveals it, the lowest number is the location that's put in the middle of the play area. So everybody's going to fight for that location. Now, if there's a tie for the number of clues, then the person who has the highest wits, their locations is going to be put in the middle, and everybody else's is just going to get put under the location deck. So I'm just going to do this random one. It costs 1. That's perfect. So let's say this was the location that we're all fighting for. As you can see, Alchemist Testing Grounds. It's a battle, which is the battle is going to be for alchemy. Goal is alchemy +1. And then characters with 0 alchemy may not assign to search party. So that sucks because their alchemy is 0. So they can't go for this. Oh, that's bad. So what this means right here, so if we zoom in a little bit, there we go. So battle alchemy means we're fighting for alchemy. Goal alchemy +1 means in order to win this location, the last people standing in your search group needs to have at least 1 more than all your opponents for alchemy. All right. So let's say Edward is in my search party. His is 4. And my opponent has 2 people in play with a combined alchemy of 3. So I will win that if we're the last people standing. Okay. Now, if there's a tie for this, no one gets this location. It goes to the owner's bottom of location deck. Now, since we completed our draw phase, okay, so we drew our 2 cards, then we revealed the location. Now, after that, we go to the power-up phase. So in the power-up phase, what you do is you add experience to your leader, or you level up your leader. All right, to level up your leader, you have to have more than what their level is. So for Edward Elric, he needs to have 2 or more experience in order for him to level up. Now you cannot, number one, you cannot skip this phase. This automatically has to happen. It's a must phase. And you cannot gain experience and then level up at the same time. And then you cannot, and vice versa, you can't level up and then gain experience. All right. So keep that in mind. And in order for you to gain experience, what will happen is you take the top card of your deck without looking at it and you place it underneath your leader card face down. And then once the time comes, whenever you advance a level, because you don't necessarily have to advance a level. You could keep gaining experience if you really like what level you're on. You could just keep gaining experience. Once you do get to level up, you take the cards that's underneath your leader, you discard it, and then you remove your leader from play, and then you advance the level. So after that's done, then you move to number 3, the recruit phase. So during the recruit phase, this is the player pass, okay? So what happens is the person with the lowest amount of wits goes first. And so what you will have to do is you're playing more characters now. And so what you would do is you play the amount equal to or lower than your command. And notice there is uniqueness in this game, so you can't have multiple of the same character. So which sucks because I have 2 of these. So the person with the lowest wits goes first. So let's say that's my opponent. So my opponent will play one of his characters first, and then it goes to my turn. So I will play one of my characters. So this Rebellious Miners is a 4 come into play because it's 5 or less. And then it goes to my opponent, and then after that it goes back to me. I have a level 1. I'm lucky. A cost of 1. So this will come into play. And then these equal up to 5, so I can't play anymore. Okay. Now, on the other hand, as well, just move this to the side so you can see. I could only, based on my command, I could only have a max of 5 allies in play before I have to discard somebody because he's at a 5. All right, so after you recruited your players or your allies, we move on to the next phase, which is your main phase. So during your main phase, that is when you can play your attachments. You can activate main phase abilities or main phase cards. So they have to have the keyword main phase in order. So if you see this, Edward Elric has main right there, meaning this could be activated during the main phase. So that is pretty much everything that happens during the main phase. All right. So I have no cards. And then who goes first in main phase? The person with the highest wits goes first during the main phase. So it goes to me. I don't want to use this ability because he's my only person with alchemy. No one else has alchemy, which is very bad. So I just pass, and then my opponent will play something, and then it goes back to me. I will pass, and let's say my opponent does something during his main phase. Then, since I literally had nothing that I could do during my main phase, I'm going to be passing. So the main phase ends when everybody passes. All right, so the next phase, what we're going to be talking about is the search phase. So this is where a lot of the action happens. This is where the battling happens and things like that. So during the search phase, it's broken down to 3 main parts. It's the assignment step, the action step, and then the victory step. So we're first going to talk about the assignment step. So the assignment step, starting off with the person with the lowest wits, they assign the characters first. So they determine how many of their allies plus leader do they want to send out to battle. Okay, well, to search for the clues. Now, this ability says characters with 0 alchemy can't get assigned. So the only person that I could assign is Edward. So what you would do is you move however many people you want to the search area. These are going to be the people who are going to be trying to win this. Okay. Now, after the person with the lowest amount of wits chooses, then it goes clockwise from that person, or if it's a 2-player, it just goes to the next person. And you have to do everything all at once, okay? So you can't just put one person out and then your opponent puts his character out and it goes back to you. No, you got to put everybody that you choose first, and then the opponent chooses everybody he wants to go to the search party. Okay? Now, once that's done, you move to the action step. So during the action step, that's when you could either initiate battle, or you can play event cards that have the ability that say search on it, or use abilities from character cards that have the keyword search in it. Now, as remember I told you, this determines the type of battle that happens. Okay, so it's a battle of alchemy, meaning we're going to be using this bottom ability, which is our alchemy, to fight. Now, let's just show you how fighting goes. Okay. Now, hopefully you can see this. So let's just say these are my opponent's 2 characters that are going to search for the clues for the Philosopher's Stone. And let's say this right here is my people that I want to send. Okay? So what will happen is we each battle. It starts off with the first person taking the action, which is either initiate battle or play an event or use an ability. that goes to the person with the highest wits, okay? So let's say, and this is still the search. This is all in the search phase. So let's say I want to initiate battle. All right. So during initiate battle, there's 3 phases. There's the maneuver step, the action step, and then the resolution step. All right. The maneuver step is just a fancy word of you choosing who you want to fight. So I could choose these 2 people. You designate by either tapping it. The rule books say you could tap it, turn it upside down, or put a coin on it to designate it to fighting somebody. I could designate these 2 guys to fight one person. That wouldn't really be smart of me because this guy isn't really that strong. But just know you have that option to have multiple people attacking to one person if the guy's really strong. All right. Now, with that being said, whenever the guy's fighting you, he could distribute damage however he wants. So let's say 2 guys are attacking one person. The 2 guys' alchemy is a 3 and a 4, which equates to 7, and they're attacking a guy that has an alchemy of 6. So that 6 will die, but the 6 that's attacking can distribute, or that's fighting back can distribute his damage however he wants. So he's going to kill one of the characters, but not both of them. Does that make sense? Now, just for simplistics, so you can understand how battle goes, is let's say I'm first player, so I initiate a battle. So what I'm going to do is decide who to fight. So Edward is going to fight Roy Mustang. They're both are at number 4. Okay. So with that being said, I just lost my hand, guys. Let me get a group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just get a group of some more cards. So with that being said, after I declared who I'm attacking and who am I using to attack, that's the maneuver step in the battle state. Then you go to the action step. So the action step is where you could play event cards. You could play, you can use abilities and things like that. Or you could just really just pass. So when you're fighting and the battle phase, the abilities and the cards that you use, like the event cards, they have to say battle on them. So for example, Majhal has a battle alchemy saying he can discard 1 ally. Mahaj gets +3 to each attribute, which is really good. After I initiated battle, we go to the action step. So I will pass. So it goes to my opponent's turn. So my opponent gets to do one of his actions. And let's say he doesn't want his Majhal to die. So let's say Majhal activates this ability by discarding 1 ally. So this discard 1 ally is from the hand. Okay. So he'll have to discard an ally from his hand and he gets these stats. So after that, it goes back to me. Now, I don't have any other abilities. I have no cards in my hand. Let's just take another look. So I do have this Flam Artistry, but this is a Battle Alchemy 5, and this character gets +2 wits. I don't really want wits right now. I need alchemy because this is an alchemy fight. So I have nothing I could play, so I pass. So after that, Majhal, let's say Majhal passes. So once that happens, that's the end of the action step for the battle, and then we go to the resolution step. So during the resolution step, we just tally everything up. Majhal, his is a 7 because he discarded a card from his hand, which was an ally. And then Edward, my leader, his is a 4. So he dies. So after resolution, he gets flipped upside down and he comes back home. All right, whenever a character loses a battle during the resolution step, he is sent back home. And then after that, once that is done, then it goes to my opponent because I'm the one who made the first move. So now my opponent does his. So now after the battle ends, we're still at the search phase. So now he could do an action during his search phase, which is he could do a search phase action from his hand or his character cards, anything like that. All right. Or he could battle. So let's just say he wants to battle. So he'll attack my Mustang. And then my Mustang, I can't do nothing. So after he battles, we go through the same thing again. We're both passing, and then we add these up so we both tie. So Mustang comes back home face down. Okay. This Mustang dies too, so he'll go back to my opponent's home face down. So after that, this is the end of everything. And then we go to the last part of the victory step, and we just add up everything. So we see Mosh Hall's the only person here. I have nobody at home, or I have nobody during the search in the search area. So if you look at this, in order for him to get this ability, he needs to have alchemy +1. He needs to have 1 more alchemy than I do. Well, he has 4 more alchemy because I have nobody home or in the search area to attend to lower that number. So this goes to my opponent. He won. And then after that, that ends the victory step. So now we go up to the cleanup phase. So at the cleanup phase, what happens is everybody who didn't lose a battle goes back home. All right. After that, everybody resets, and then we recover. So if your leader died, he automatically has to get recovered. All right. Now, in order for me to save Mustang, I have to discard a Mustang from hand. I don't have a Mustang in hand, so Mustang goes bye-bye. So he gets sent to the grave. Okay. Now, let's say I sent at one point in the game, everybody's face down, right? If everybody's face down like this, that is how you lose the game. So I just wanted to show you what that actually meant, because I know it kind of sounded a little confusing when it said if everybody's face down, but that's how everybody gets face downs. If everybody loses in a battle searching for clues and they get sent home, and at any given point, everybody at your home is face down. But yeah, but that's really how the game flow goes. And so after that, you just keep playing to the next one. So you go back to the sequence of play, which is your draw phase. You draw your 2 cards and you just go to your power up phase. You do that. You go to your recruit phase and you just repeat that process until either A, you have all 9 clues, or B, there's no one standing in your way. Everybody's face down, discarded. All right. Now, at this point, whenever you reveal a location during your draw phase, whoever has the least amount of clues reveals, and that becomes the location that we are fighting for. So my opponent has 1 because he beat me last turn. So this clue will be, or this location is going to be my location because I have 0 clues. Yeah, but other than that, guys, that's pretty much it for this game. I can't wait to actually go out and play this game with a couple of my friends. I think I want to do it first. I don't know if I want to do it multiplayer. I might try to do it 1v1 first so we can each get the hang of it. And then we go into multiplayer. But other than that, guys, this is a really fun game. If you do want to pick up this game, you know, you can either go to like eBay, Macari, one of those places to buy product. That's where I bought these from. But just know your starter deck is going to be short. So what you're going to need to do is you probably need to buy 2 starter decks or buy a starter and a booster if you want to play with friends, because the minimum you need is 60 cards in deck based off this rule book right here. It's 60 card main deck and then a minimum of 9 locations in your location deck, and they can't match. Yeah, it's a singleton and your location deck. Yep, other than that, that's it for today's video, guys. Hope you guys like it. Later.